name's Chelsea, and I'm a volunteer with the Resistance Center for Peace and Justice. I'm also a coordinator of a network of national organizers with the Ban Killer Drones campaign, who are committed to achieving an international treaty banning weaponized drones and military and police drone surveillance. We're here also with a number of local co-sponsoring organizations, including Code Pink of Western Mass, the Latin America Solidarity Coalition, Trap Rock Peace Center, and the Anti-Imperialism Action Committee.
And the Raging Grannies.
And the Raging Grannies. Today we stand in front of war profiteer L3 Harris, the sixth largest weapons contractor on the globe. The week of September 26th to October 2nd is a week during which national organizers have been protesting together for several years at Creech Air Force Base in Nevada to protest the U.S. drone assassination program. Creech Air Force Base is the first U.S. base to carry out illegal, remotely controlled assassinations with killer drones. It has been revealed that there are over 900 drone pilots operating out of Creech Air Force Base, where they sit behind computers in the desert north of Las Vegas to target and murder suspected militants thousands of miles away in countries including, but not limited to, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia. Independent research indicates that the identity of only 1 out of 28 victims of U.S. drone attacks is known beforehand. Though officials deny it, and have been denying it for over a decade, the majority killed by drones are civilians. The U.S. drone program is rapidly proliferating as air bases are being converted to drone bases across the U.S. and around the globe. And Creech remains the primary air base involved in U.S. state-sponsored global terrorism. Anti-drone solidarity protests are being held in Syracuse and Niagara Falls, New York, Tucson, Arizona, Horsham, Pennsylvania, and other communities throughout the U.S. that host killer drone control centers or training bases. We're here today to stand in solidarity with those in protest, and unfortunately, what better place to stand against such an immoral drone-killing program than war profiteer L3 Harris, who is one of several companies who make such targeted killings possible by contributing to the manufacturing of these weapons and surveillance systems. For example, in 2019, L3 Harris entered a $350 million deal with Israeli weapons and surveillance manufacturer Elbit Systems, which builds drones and other surveillance equipment for the Israeli apartheid wall that isolates Palestinian communities and denies them access to their basic resources. Despite U.S. rhetoric that intends to shield the realities of the U.S. drone program from the public, we know that such acts of war only fuel the flames of vengeance against the U.S. and actually make us less safe, recruiting people to organizations and instilling hatred in U.S. and its horrific foreign policies. We know that while drones may be precise, sophisticated machines, the intelligence backing them is not so. We are here today especially to honor the Ahmadi family of Afghanistan, who recently and tragically lost 10 beloved family members, including 7 young children, by a reckless drone attack carried out on August 29th under the Biden administration. General Mark Milley, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, deemed the attack righteous. The U.S. military later admitted it had made a terrible mistake. The Pentagon thought it had found an ISIS-K militant preparing an attack, but it actually struck Zamari Ahmadi, an aid worker for nonprofit Nutrition and Education International, and members of his family. Ahmadi had been observed loading boxes into his car, which the U.S. military believed were full of explosives. Actual footage showed that Ahmadi was actually loading the car with water containers for his family. We are protesting today at L3 Harris in part because it provides video cameras, weapons release systems, and repairs for MQ-9 Reaper drones, the type of drone used to kill the members of the Ahmadi family. L3 Harris's Northampton location also produces optical and electro-optical targeting devices for surface ships and submarines. We must ask ourselves, are the people who create and use Reaper drones with impunity from a privileged distance that rain down Hellfire missiles not committing grave acts of terror? There are thousands upon thousands of other innocent people killed by drones that have gone largely unnamed by the U.S. media since the start of the U.S. war on terror. So many other Ahmadis, so many innocent people, and the lack of accountability that the U.S. has not taken for countless similar attacks is reprehensible. We want our community members to have good jobs. We want our community members to use their technological expertise in ways that revitalize our communities, not make us less safe and murder scores of innocent people. While L3 Harris is valued as a company at more than $33 billion, we struggle here with lack of adequate funding for education, mental health, and housing when we could be addressing such ills, but instead money continues to be funneled to the weapons contractors at an alarmingly disproportionate rate, who greatly profit off sustaining the U.S. mission to keep the world in a perpetual state of war for its benefit. We reject the U.S. drone terror program and all those profiting off its murders. We are here to imagine a world where funds are reallocated to support our communities, not deprive them of their basic needs. We also stand here today in support of the courageous hero Daniel Hale, drone whistleblower who divulged the secret realities of the drone program in Yemen to the public and who was recently sentenced to almost 4 years in prison for doing so. Pardon Daniel Hale. Let us not only stand in honor of the Ahmadi family, but with all those who have been impacted by drone attacks and their families who yearn for their lost loved ones. Let us continue to work toward a world where human life is valued and morality and ethics are at the forefront of U.S. policies, both foreign and domestic. Thank you very much for being here. And I think now we may hear some songs from the Raging Grannies and do some chants a little later.
1, 2, 3. Nuclear proliferation. We must stop this global spread for the people of the whole world have to live in fear and dread. We must all tell all the nations we cannot have nuclear war. Peace and justice, common safety, that is what we're singing for. We cannot have our lives shattered and those bombs are everywhere. We must destroy nuclear weapons. We must make them disappear. Nuclear proliferation. We must stop its global spread. So the peoples of the whole world will live in fear and dread.
The biggest thing is to just be reminded that they're whistleblowers and that this today is really in connection with protests all over the country against drone killings and the hypocrisy, the lies that drone killings are precise. They are precisely horrific because they do not do anything good for anyone. They kill people, and the scores of innocent people who have been killed by our drones is a testimony. And the people who fly drones are the people who have suffered the greatest post-traumatic stress than even people in hand-to-hand combat. Because people are asked to, soldiers, drone pilots are asked to get to know people, to follow them for days, and then they're told to kill them. And these are people so often just innocent bystanders. So everywhere we can, we need to stand up against drone killing.
There's no business like war, business the worst business we know. Never mind the homeless and the hungry, never Never mind the people without jobs. Nowhere can you get that special feeling that when you're piling up the bombs, there's no business like your business, the best business they know. Multinational profits going through the sky, they multiply while children die. They care about it because they're flying high. They go on with a show. There's no business like new business, the worst business we know. Never mind the gas I have to keep out. Never mind the water and the air. Nowhere can you get that special feeling that when you're losing all your hair. There's no business like new business, the worst business we know. Cancer rates keep going right up through the sky. They multiply while children die. Let us have a chance to live a healthy life all over the world. All over the world.
Hi, I'm Peter Kakis. I live here in Northampton, and I am here in solidarity with these good folks to demonstrate in opposition to L3 Harris, which is the 6th largest weapons manufacturer in the world. And this is one of their arms. And so the essence of it is that given COVID and the international problems we have with hunger and refugee resettlement and all that needs to be helped with our own people, Haitians and Central Americans at the border, we can no longer afford, and nor should we, developing immoral weapons of mass destruction, which is what they do here. They do fine work regarding that. So, yes, and we hope that the world stands up in America, and then the world stands up to listen, because we are fighting a war now. World War III. It's called the COVID War. And we have people on the front lines, as we know of, in hospitals, burnt out, leaving, committing suicide, all kinds of horrible acts, which calls for all the human resources we can muster.
Daniel Hale. You know who Daniel Hale is? You heard a little about it. As soon as he is moved to the prison where he is due to be incarcerated for 54 months, the Resistance Center will have his address, and please write to him. So this is a whistleblower song. Where soul is blown, each time our laws are ignored, where the whistler is free to warn you and me without being thrown overboard. Where is our land? Where the bravest of us take a stand. Where a hero is she who protects you and me and whistles us home in our land. You company they're fired in the army retired with a court-martial for all to see. It's treason they're told, many years in the hole, for speed for you and for me. Where is our land? The bravest of all who is she who protects you and me, and the whistles in our land.
Yeah, I guess I'm just here today because of Daniel Hale. He showed that in one 5-month period, 90% of the drone strikes were hitting off target, and he revealed the games the U.S. plays with all these bullshit drone strikes and identifying targets like at random. And in court, he stood up and said that he took papers and delivered those papers to the American people because he couldn't take lives. And it's unconscionable that the U.S. is keeping him in prison, that national security whistleblowers are in prison, and there's no accountability for the national security state and the national security apparatus. So I'm really glad to see people turn out and for Daniel Hale to be on the list of priorities and for people to be showing up at L3 Harris and looking at, like, okay, the drone war isn't something that's abroad, it's something that's here in our communities, that our community members work for, and that we all are complicit in.
And drone warfare!